30 is when you walk into a bar or a VFW, and in that 30 seconds, you can already tell.
That guy right there is drunk, that guy's an idiot, and that guy down there knows it all.
There are programs out there beyond the VA.
Many nonprofit organizations. The Beer 30 Show.
It's the Beer 30 Show. Made by veterans.
For veterans.
Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Beer 30 Show, brought to you by Common Ground Golf Course, a place for all and all the game teaches. Today we're speaking with acclaimed director Steffan Tubbs, producer and director of Acronym, a documentary over the cross-generation battle with PTSD. I believe the premiere showing was this past Wednesday on Veterans Day. Steffan, how are you doing today?
Doing well, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And it's definitely Beer 30 for me, man. I've been up since 3 a.m. Mountain Time.
We appreciate
I'm a little disappointed Joel didn't have a nice frosty one ready for me.
Well, Joel's a forgetful person. I
understand that.
I do have one ready for you here in Tennessee if you want to just, catch a flight. So
listen, on my bucket list, man, and all we need is to get a Tennessee premiere of this documentary. We had Danny&Joel an amazing premiere night on Veterans Day with Acronym. I did not know what to expect, and Joel, you were so incredibly gracious to let me invade your space down at Freedom Service Dogs of America with Barrett and focus on you and your service dog. But I'm telling you, the reaction from people that saw this, we had more than 400 show up for 358 seats. So I made some people mad, but I said, hey, I promise, because of this, we'll have other showings. We want to get it to Tennessee. We want to get this to Vermont. We want to get it to Florida, California. We want to get this film on cross-generational PTSD from World War II to guys like Joel, who served our country, so well in Iraq and Afghanistan. It doesn't matter how old you are, war is hell, as so many veterans have told us, and that's really one of the reasons why we did this film, is to show that, it doesn't matter if you're 90 or if you're 23 off of 4 or 5 combat tours recently, that, war trauma is real, whether you want to call it battle fatigue or shell shock or PTS or PTSD. It's definitely real, and thanks to great people like you, Joel, we were able to get this film out, and now the real work begins to try to spread it across the country.
Yeah, I really appreciate being a part of it. Danny, just so everybody knows, this is my first time back on the show in over a week. Danny's going to be doing most of the talking because my throat's kind of swollen, which I've learned not to say that very much around military guys because they like to throw wisecracks at me once again. But
Well, Joe, I think everybody knows me well enough to know what I would say in this typical manner. So I'll just leave it out.
But we really appreciate you coming on the show. We wanted to try and fit you in, Steffan. I'm going to get that name wrong every single time I speak.
That's all right.
We wanted to get you on here, because it's not only is it a great film, but I think the American people, they don't understand why soldiers commit suicide. They don't understand that, a lot of these guys don't have family. Like, I didn't have family. When my mom passed, it's just my dad and me, got a couple of uncles, and that's it. It depends on the support around you, and that's a great thing about this film. And it doesn't so much express pity on me. It just talks about our battles.
Right. It talks about your story and people like you, the stories, these stories they have to be told too many times. I mean, I work for a major media company, and I'm not just saying it's our company. I think, we're trying to do the best we can to present and honor our servicemen and women. But look, how many times have you in the past decade, right? Anybody listening knows that in that, quote, mainstream media, or any media for that matter, 4 or 5 men and women killed in an IED explosion in Afghanistan or Iraq. It's covered in almost what I like to say, and I hate to say it, but it's like a fast food way. And the reason why this film is so important is because it gives veterans, in their own words, like you, Joel, sure, we have to edit, but I'm not editing out just what I want you to say. You're on, and in this film, and your emotion, your honesty, and dozens of other veterans in this film, they're telling their story. And the one thing that I know as a team we were so proud of putting together is this is an hour, 41-minute film. And it moves. You wouldn't think it was that long because of the way we've presented the stories. But there's not some big, deep-voiced narrator in this. There's not some, way in which we're trying to do anything but tell the veteran stories. But the terrific part is it's in the veteran's words. And it's all edited that way, where you get to know the story of Joel Hunt. You get to know the story of Bob McAdam, who just 2 hours into his first B-17 mission over the Adriatic Sea was shot down and became a German POW. You learn the stories of Jennifer Birch, who went over to Afghanistan at Kandahar as a civil engineer, volunteered to become, a combat medic, and experienced the most horrific things imaginable at just the age of 24, 25 years old. But this film is so important because not only do we tell your stories, you veterans, but we also look at the alternative therapies out there. For some, it's smoking a bowl of weed. For others, it's getting on a horse. For others, it's taking pictures, playing golf, going surfing. But just when in this film, you just think you're about to be depressed for the remainder of the film, we bring you an alternative therapy. And our number one goal, we want everybody to like this, but we want a veteran to see this film and go, I feel exactly like that guy or girl. Maybe tonight I won't kill myself. I'm not going to OD on pills or take a gun to my head. And that's the real goal. And I think veterans hearing it from veterans is much better than hearing it in maybe a traditional way that some films are done.
Yeah, I was telling Danny a while back, Max Martini, which he is an actor that I forget what movie he was in, but he was in part of Saving Private Ryan. He had created a movie called 22, and that's actually going to be out on theaters, like big time theaters, next year. And I think personally that this movie that you did, I haven't even seen it, but like the trailer and the previews, and from what I've seen and heard, I think this movie is better. Mainly because I think that 22, I saw the preview, it's bad acting. So go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry. I'm taking the spin on this.
Yeah, Stefan, if you didn't notice, Joel's like, I'll let Danny talk the majority of the time because my throat hurts. You see how big of a lie that is now, right?
Hey, this is the great part, man. I've known Joel for a while, and he's been on my TV show here in Denver, and it's great because, you know what? I love somebody that can talk, and I don't care sore throat or not. The guy's got good things to say. I just say let him go. Danny, you could actually, you and I could just sit back, sip a cold one, and just watch Joe go.
Hey, that sounds great. I sit here and watch his facial reactions just as much as I listen to him, and it amazes me sometimes. And I understand why you cut some of him out and put Barrett in.
Listen, Barrett, I was telling you guys off the air, Barrett makes about as many appearances as Joel does, but the Joel service dog Barrett just great, and I know Joel is obviously so pleased and needs Barrett, and just what service dogs can do for a veteran has just been amazing, and that's certainly one of the things that we get into with Joel is just how important having a service dog has been to Joel, and how maybe take Joel's advice, right? If you've served and you're not feeling like maybe a service dog can be a way in which, as an alternative therapy treatment, you can get off of some, maybe a medication or two, or, maybe not have to go to counseling as often. Too many times, and Joel, I know you'd agree, the old way, at least especially in the 70s for these guys coming back from Vietnam, it was, man, you're messed up. Here's a bag full of pills, an extra prescription, get some refills, go talk with a group counseling session, get individual therapy, and we hope you do okay. Thanks. Next. And I think this is a way now in which we can see that, yes, medication, modern medicine is great. For some, that's all they need. But for others, they need that outlet, and that's what we focus on in the film.
You know, and I think also that it's even worse now because the VA wasn't ready for all these survivors to come back.
Yep,
So
great point.
instead of us seeing psychiatrists, every month at least, one time. On my part now, I'm seeing a therapist one time every 4 months.
Right. Hey, listen, while we're on, and I appreciate so much the opportunity to talk about this film, and Joel, I know you have it on, and I think I know you well enough. You're not just having me come on to just say, hey, go see this film because I'm in it. And I know, and that's, I respect you even more for that, because if truth can be told, I don't know if I had to twist your arm much, but, I know you're a humble guy, and you're, you've gone through hell. And to have you come out with such candor, and to just be so open to share things that I know were painful, I can't give you enough props. But if you want to see the trailer, now I do have to say, until we cut a new trailer, Danny, Joel is not in the trailer that's currently on the website, and I'm just kind of getting this feeling that I need to put Joel Hunt in the next trailer we do. So we're going to try to do that. But folks, if you can go to our website or your guys' website as well, it's for us, Mountain, like the mountains, Mountain, T as in Tom, M as in Mary, Mountain TM.com. You'll see the acronym tab, view the trailer, and you can see why we're doing this and get a feel in about an 8-minute trailer just how incredible the film, I think, is. It's the most important thing I've ever done, and that's in more than 25 years of news. So I highly suggest that you see that. And then, Danny, we got to get out to Tennessee, man. I've got Nashville on my bucket list forever.
Well, I'm only here for another month, so you better make it snappy.
Oh, well, let's do it. Somebody out there's got a theater we can use, and then we can have a free showing.
Oh yeah, there's a Malco Paradiso I love going to out here. I'm a huge movie goer. I go see movies every week basically.
I was gonna say, don't you still work at the theater, Dan?
No. I work at a theater just for the experience because I love movies, and I was like, hey, why not get a couple free movies if I work here for a few months? So my wife was complaining about my spending on movie theaters, but yeah, the theater I go to out here, it's a really nice one, and man, I would love to. If you're into movies, yeah, we'll catch a movie. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I think we need to show this one. I'm telling you, brother, this needs to be seen, I think, by everyone in this country, and by most certainly, because that's such a ridiculous statement to say, yeah, I hope everybody sees it, which, we won't get that. But this is some film, or the type of film that I think you see, and then I even got an email today from a guy, 2 days ago, so he's at our premiere here in Colorado, and he sent me an email this morning. He said, my wife and I cannot stop thinking about that film. And I think that's the kind of impact that these veteran stories have. And to see it on the big screen for all of us involved in this, it was 8 or 9 months of really, really long days, but to see the final product, it's been great. And at the premiere, guys, it was incredible. Where do we need our politicians, right, to stop bitching and complaining to each other and fighting about, things that really, it doesn't even matter. They just fight to fight, I think, at times.
Or stop complaining about Starbucks cups.
Yeah, amen. And you know what? I actually tweeted out earlier this week. I don't know if you saw it, Joel, but I'm like, while the country argues over, and gets all in an uproar over Starbucks cups, does anybody give a bleep about our veterans? Honor them on Veterans Day and every day. But we had at our premiere, we had bipartisan support. I had 4 congressmen from Colorado, one from Iowa. We had politicians. We had everyday folks. We had so many veterans, and so many of the veterans that were in this film as well come to take part. It's been a labor of love, and I just hope that it can have an impact. And I think everybody, especially in D.C. or at your state capital, wherever you are, needs to see this. And maybe, just maybe, they'll start to kind of put 2 and 2 together that, we cannot bury our heads in the sand. No. 22 veterans a day. 22, Joel, I know you know that number. Yeah. You just mentioned the film. 22 veterans a day killing themselves, 75 attempt. It's just unacceptable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been a couple times where Joel's called me in the middle of the night. Hey, I need somebody to talk to. And I mean, a lot of people don't realize how much it affects people. And, there's been times I've tried calling Joel, but he's too busy sleeping. But I'll sit there and try to call it because I have a different type of PTSD than what Joel has. And it's different for everybody. Everybody reacts to it differently.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
like everybody comes out and puts a mask on throughout the day, but the moment you get home and you're alone, it's completely different. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so this movie you have going on, the documentary, it sounds like a great thing, and I definitely want to watch it. I'm wondering if there's a way if we can get them on bases across the nation. That way you can show all the veterans, because like my wife's a corpsman right now in the Navy, and that would be perfect. That's like a video that I think sailors, soldiers, airmen,
Right.
even the Coastie should watch. And
That's a great point, Danny. It is a great point because we're still, and I know you guys in doing your show and in other endeavors, I'm sure in your life, raising money is hard. I MC events so often for people, and I have no problem in trying to raise money, and usually it's pretty successful for other groups. I found that I really suck at trying to raise money, for my own project. And maybe it's because I like to think I'm humble. I'm very proud of what we've done. But I mean, raising money for this has just been woefully short. But what I've tried to tell people from, bigwig corporate guys to individual donors is, look, we're not in this. This is a non-profit deal. However, with a nonprofit, there's still people that need to get paid. My cameraman won't do it for free, and I get it. He's got food to put on the table. Our writer, the same thing, But once we hit that budget, which we're still, again, woefully short, but we want to use this film, and I know I've told you, Joe, this before. We want to use this film as a free tool. I mean, I want to provide this, to every base. I want people like your wife, Danny, to see this, her colleagues and comrades. There's no way that anybody would be negatively impacted by this 40-minute documentary with veterans talking to veterans. There's no way the negative is there, save for the fact that it may, in fact, bring up some pretty bad memories. Joel, I did think when it was a possibility that you were going to come to the film, and I thought about our other veterans. I hope that this doesn't trigger, from the negative perspective, a lot of stuff that's bottled up. But, in some cases, this very well may be that tipping point for somebody to go and find an alternative therapy or find additional help or just do something out of his or her norm that they've been doing, and maybe this can make a difference, and I sure think it will.
We all hope it will, too. I mean, especially for people like Joel, me, and me and my wife, she does. I think she has a slight case based off what I've learned in my psychology classes and stuff like that, because she got deployed over to Afghanistan, and a lot of people go through things and they won't tell you about it, even as close as a significant other. I can kind of guess what happened because I was there. Well, I wasn't in Afghanistan, but I've heard the stories, and I have my own experience with detainees to kind of understand the type of things that she went through, but it's hard for everybody coming back.
Right, brother. You bring up a great point, though, and that is one of the sections in the film talks about, talk to somebody, and it doesn't have to be a spouse, because we all know how we are with our wives, and the same on the other side, how you are with your husband, right? And I thought what you brought up about kind of this, not you, these weren't your words, but I'll put it in mine, and that is, at first when, I'm not saying Joel had a facade or was phony when I first met him, but, you're not going to open up to a stranger the way you would a buddy or a friend, but maybe sometimes those avenues are exhausted. You've already talked with them about it. You think you're a burden if you're a vet and you're not feeling good. That's why it's great. Yeah, Joel calls you in the middle of the night. Too often that we've found, though, is it's all been bottled up. Let me tell you, talking with a 90-year-old double Purple Heart recipient from Iwo Jima and hearing how this 90-year-old man just 2 years ago started his PTS counseling, that's 70-plus years of having that stuff bottled up inside. That's 70-plus years. And to have that 90-year-old say basically the same thing as the Korean vets we talked to, the guy from Somalia, Gulf 1 and 2, Iraq, Afghanistan, Korea, Vietnam. I mean, all of those guys, they're all saying the same thing. And that's why we really think in covering the cross-generational look, our hope is to have one veteran out there, no matter the conflict, the war, whatever, to have that one veteran go, holy crap, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And again, If we can save a life, there are a lot of people out there that don't like that cliche. If it saves a life, it's worth the law or whatever. With this, I'm telling you, 8 months of work, 2 or 3 years of plotting this out and having it come to reality. If we can save one life, if we can save one veteran that's put on the uniform, that part of that 1%, I'll feel like we've done a damn good job.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we've been talking about this film and everything. So let's get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell us about yourself and your experience with Mountain Time Media and that kind of stuff?
Sure. So my dad served in the Vietnam era. He was lucky. He was in Thailand during Vietnam. I've had aunts and uncles in the military, Air Force, and the Navy. I've got one of my cousins right now is overseas in the Air Force. So I've always had that. My grandfather was a merchant marine, actually, which I told a lot of people even on Wednesday night. I don't think the merchant marine gets nearly enough of the credit of just the job that they did, stateside during World War II. So I've had military in my family. A couple other grandfathers were in the Pacific Theater in World War II. But I was embedded as a reporter in Iraq in 2006, and I was only there for a blip of time, just a couple of weeks. And, I make no bones about it. Hey, I know what it's like or anything like that. No way. I don't. But I do know what it's like to actually be the guy that's on a convoy without a weapon. That's something, let me tell you. But you learn to listen. And one of the guys that I was learning from happened to be an Army captain based here out of Fort Carson, Fort Hood. And he was with 4th ID. I was only with him a few days, and just hit it off. He was like the brother that I never had. West Point grad, married his wife, met his wife at West Point, and of course, as a lot of these situations go, they had an 8-month-old little boy. 2 weeks after I got back from Iraq, got a random email that Captain Weichel was killed by an IED in the same convoy, in the same Humvee that I was in just a couple of weeks earlier. And I vowed as a news guy that, this has an impact on me. I felt like I'd lost somebody that I knew. I had this really weird, and I kind of got this sense of this brotherhood that have served, that you talk about and you feel. I felt a little bit of that. Like, this guy was kind of like my brother, man. And to find out that he was killed, and we had a big fundraiser plan just a couple of days later, we still went on with that. But I vowed that as a member of the media, I would never again read a news story that, 3 servicemen were killed in an IED explosion. Now let's get to the weather, because I saw what it did to Ian's family, his widow. He's got a son now without a dad. What it did to his brother and their circle of friends and the community he was from. So through that, I started working a lot with veterans, and primarily from the Greatest Generation. And I've been able to travel the world, been to Iwo Jima a couple of times, went back to Iraq in 2010, Normandy. I've had a blessed life, all because of our veterans. And starting to talk about their stories, I saw that, as I kind of alluded to earlier, doesn't matter the age, the war, they were all saying the same thing. War is hell. It is, we have psychologists in the film that talk about, look, no matter how much training you have, no matter how much mental preparation you can get, or even spur of the moment, I'm just reacting to the situation in front of me, killing another person is not natural. It is not normal. We're not wired that way, and it has an impact. Just the stress of being, on 3-4 different deployments, coming home and having to go back. That's what's so much different from, the World War II generation with the men and women today. Just when you try, what about the adjustment? We talk about that in the film as well. How about the spouses that are, such an important backbone to any military family, but especially military. And so we wanted to do this film because I just saw this need and this kind of gap to fill, where it's not just a PTSD documentary on the Vietnam era. It's not just Iraq, Afghanistan. This is from World War II through present day. And I'm proud to say, again, this past Wednesday we had our premiere, and, crossing our fingers for a little bit of corporate support, but hopefully we will be able to generate the interest via Twitter and Facebook to do that. You can follow us. Just type in either Twitter or Facebook. You can just do acronym PTSD, and you can follow us there and just show your support. I don't care anybody, if we have one person listening that could possibly make a difference. You don't have to make a difference with your checkbook. retweet, show support. I know it seems trite a lot to you veterans, but, a thank you can go a long way in certain situations. Maybe you don't care about being thanked for your service. You need more help, but some people do. And maybe that thank you is going to make a difference in that person's day. So that's basically how I got into it. Was fortunate enough to meet Joel here in Colorado, and like I said, he was, first a guest on my TV program. He's been on my radio show quite a bit, and I consider Joel, I consider you a friend, and from the bottom of my heart that I respect what you do, and I continue to respect the battles that you fight, and I know you'll succeed.
I appreciate that. One thing that I wanted to ask, because we're running out of time, the one thing that I've wanted to know, and people might know, I don't, but how did you figure out calling the film acronym?
Well, I decided to call it acronym because of the acronym PTSD. Some people say, oh, that's not technically an acronym. I don't care. It's an acronym to me. And a lot of times in our society, guys, we just, we use acronyms to shorten things up. And I think in this case, we've used PTSD as just an acronym to, oh, yeah, he must have PTSD, and then move on. To me, I thought it was a perfect title. It's unique, and hopefully we'll get the interest through not only a good title, but an incredible film. And Joel, I thank you again so much for inviting me on. Danny, thank you, and the participation. Danny, I can't wait for you to see this, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I was talking to Joel. I'd watched the trailer earlier, and I was like, I really kind of want to watch this now and get a good feel of it. And you were mentioning earlier, if it doesn't matter how many people are listening. That's why we do this. We're veterans. We're just trying to help veterans. And whether it's showing them new movies for PTSD or documentaries about it, or whether it's getting to know a new nonprofit, I don't care if it's 1 to 1 million. As long as it's one person we're reaching, I could care less. So, because that one person could turn into 2 to 4 to 8 and so on, so on. So,
if it's the ripple effect.
Oh, yeah. And that's important, especially these types of situations, because a lot of people, like a lot of civilians that have never had nothing to do with the military, they can't fully understand what a sailor, a soldier, an airman, or anybody goes through when they get deployed and they come back. They are different. No matter how bad you don't want it to be, they are different. Yeah. And they just don't understand it. I mean, I've run into so many civilians where they just don't understand. And it's like, well, you kind of have to experience it.
Yeah, and not only understanding, guys, it's the let's try to convince some people, because sometimes you do have to lead a horse to water and force them to drink. Let's start getting the 99% to actually care a little bit more. I know there are a lot of patriots out there that have never served. I consider myself one of them, and my hats are off to you and every person, man or woman, that has ever put on a uniform for the greatest country on earth. Mm-hmm. But there are some people, we all know, but there are some people that will be more concerned about whether they're late to their son's soccer game or the price of a gallon of gasoline than even once a week thinking about those of you in that 1%. And by God, of representing the 99% that I am, I'm trying to make a difference, and I could not do it without the great men and women in uniform.
Well, thank you very much for that, Steffan.
You guys are the best. Thank you, and go watch that trailer, folks.
Definitely, please do. That was Steffan Tubbs. Follow him on Twitter, Facebook, and make sure to go watch the trailer. That is the sound of our 2-minute warning, brought to you by Tee It Up for the Troops. Joel, what did you learn today?
Well, the reason why I had asked the question was because I just thought it was kind of odd, but I finally learned why he calls the movie acronym. I can't even spell it, not alone hardly pronounce it. But it's great, and that's one of the things that I learned. And yeah, to be honest, Danny, I forgot I was even in the damn movie. I don't even remember it, believe it or not, and I told him that. The main reason why I wanted to have him on is so that he, it came out on Veterans Day, And we all know that everybody wants to support veterans on Veterans Day, but 30% of that population continue that. You know, it's like, okay, we're gonna support you on Veterans Day, but tomorrow we're gonna cut you off. You know, it's to the point to me where it's almost getting sickening with businesses and stuff for that. But those who support us all the time, I really appreciate. But that's what I learned today. What did you learn, Danny?
Well, I didn't realize that this was a non-profit movie. Or documentary. That's very interesting, and that's very admirable too, because a lot of people who make movies are documentaries.
Technically, it's not a non-profit yet because they haven't got their 501c3.
Well, I'm saying the film itself is basically a non-profit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying he's got to pay his cameraman, his writers, and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to actual trying to make money for it, he's there to help the people, the veterans and everything, instead of helping himself, which is a very admirable quality. Because, you know, people make movies these days to make money.
Right, yeah.
And that's what they care about, entertainment. This is being a documentary and everything. This is very important to something important to watch, especially if you haven't been in the military or you know somebody in the military and haven't been in the military. This will help you understand what what they're going through, which is a good thing. So that is our time limit. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the Beer 30 show, and we hope to see you all back again on Monday.
Oh, yeah, for sure, everybody. I'm glad to be back. You guys have a great, positive weekend. And I forget who we talked Monday. I think it's Soldiers Angels.
Yeah, I believe we're talking to Soldiers Angels on Monday.
So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we will see you soon. Everybody, bye.
And now, a message from your radio station.
We just like to say that any connection between your mother and us is purely Facebook related.
NBR Radio.